Well, hello everyone. It is I, J.Ishiro Finney, author and alien in a human suit, and we are back with Movie Talk with John Stephen Walsh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kat,
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
and John is the author of Beast in the Machine, an entire book
Mhm.
about every damn alien movie.
Even the last one, even the Alien versus Predator ones. Well, the things I do for love, right? Oy.
Exactly.
It's
And
it's almost like being a Star Wars fan. You know, the number of good movies to bad, the ratio is pretty darn tough.
yeah,
Mm,
so tonight we were going. Jesus, we got two viewers. What the fuck?
I'm getting ready to post to Discord because like we only have 2 viewers.
Man,
Wow.
I must have really pissed off YouTube this time. Especially after that, what was it? The last two shows got banned.
mm-hmm.
Oh
Wait,
wow.
did the one that we have on Monday night got banned?
I don't know if that one got banned, but two shows have been banned in a row now.
What
What you
the
guys?
hell?
What are you guys up to?
Oh, they won't even tell me why.
We just
Oh,
got your band. Fuck you.
does it have,
So anyway,
it
we
must.
were going to talk about Hobo with a Shotgun,
All right,
but Janelle
that's
only
right.
got to see 20 minutes of it, and John didn't get to see it yet.
That first 20 minutes, I was telling Kat and Ishi, that is one of the greatest movies I've seen.
Well,
It's so much unexpected violence.
Well, sounds good, but someone sent me that like after it came out. What was that? That's like 10 years ago, wasn't it? That it came out. Like, they came out forever ago. And someone sent me it and said, "You got to watch this." And I said, "Okay." 10 years later, I still have it, but I haven't watched it yet.
It's great. It's
Oh,
thoroughly enjoyable. The gore in it is so fun and over the top.
Rutger Hauer. Since I saw him in, of course, Blade Runner, but also what was the Stallone movie? What was the movie? The first one that he made in America, Rutger Hauer, um, with Sylvester Stallone.
Showgirls?
No, this is like back in.
Not not
You have
Wanted Dead or Alive, where he was the bounty hunter. Oh,
nope,
that was
nope.
Gene Simmons he was hunting down in that movie.
Right? No, it's all right. I'll look it up. Hold on,
I don't know.
because
I know
because
what
it's a
movie you're
good
talking
movie.
about, and
It's
I
actually
can't.
a good movie.
No, JC, Sylvester Stallone was not in Flesh and
The
Blood,
Hitcher.
and I don't think he
Nope,
was
it's
in The
not
Hitcher
Flesh and
either.
Blood. Hold on.
Flesh and Blood
Nope,
is a
that's not it.
movie.
Nighthawks. Nighthawks.
Oh shit!
Nighthawks.
Wasn't he the serial killer?
He was the terrorist.
The
He was
terrorist.
the
Okay,
terrorist.
because it was him and I want to say Billy D.
Per,
Williams and Sylvester
Billy
Stallone
D,
were the cops
Billy
hunting
D.
him down, right?
Right, Billy D. Williams gets he doesn't get killed at that point. He doesn't get killed at all, but he gets slashed, and
Yeah.
that takes him out of the and the surprise in it is Persis Kambata, who played Ilea in the first Star Trek movie,
Yeah, the bald
Yeah.
chick.
Yeah.
like a mannequin. Well, she's his like killer co-terrorist, and there's a great moment where I won't ruin it for you, but one of the characters is coming up a escalator, and the camera moves up with him, and she's standing there, and both you and he just know, shit, he's done. She was good at it. But, Wrecker Hauer was fantastic in it, and the only issue about it is at the end. Have you seen it?
Nope.
I saw it when I was a kid, and that was
Okay.
ages ago.
It is. I recommend it. It's a good movie, but there's a moment at the very climax that is a real howler. I don't know if I should spoil it or not, but it's it's like what? Why did you think? Why did you think this was a good choice, guys? And yeah, it's. But so, but having said that, I recommend Nighthawks. The director only made the only other significant thing that he really made was he acted in the Karate Kid movies. So
Pat Morita?
no, his
Directed by Pat Morita.
that'd be awesome.
the multi-talented. But I recommend seeing it, by the way. I recommend seeing that. And the other Blood of Heroes.
I beg to differ. He did a Seagal movie. He
Oh,
directed
he did?
Hard to Kill.
He also did a Dolph Lundgren movie. He was the director.
Really?
Yeah, he
Let's
directed
see.
Hard
What
to
do we got
Kill.
here?
Yeah, and so he's on the list of people that said, "Yeah, I worked with Seagal, and he was a piece of shit."
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. I see.
The
Now
fact
that
that
I've seen
Seagal broke Sean Connery's wrist to show that he was, more buff than him and better than him, fucking asshole.
Yeah, like, what
Wow.
the hell, dude? Really?
Yeah.
you should have challenged him to, like, name all 26 letters in the alphabet. I bet Sean would have beaten his ass on that one.
Okay, so since we're not talking about hobo with a shotgun, I think we're just going to have to go off on random tangents again.
Yeah.
Well, there is something I would like to talk about because John talked about it the last time you guys had it on the show. Had him on the show,
Perfect.
and it was Shockwaves. And I watched it, and that movie was fucking great. And I highly
Awesome.
recommend it. I was thoroughly impressed with that movie. And I mean, I didn't think there was enough Peter Cushing in it. There should have been more.
But
Right.
there should always be more Peter Cushing. That's like a standing order.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was not what I was expecting, and that was in a very pleasant way. And the way it was filmed and the way they used the Ubermensch, the zombie Ubermensch, really, like, I can see where influences for slasher films came from with these guys. Because, obviously they didn't have the budget to have like hundreds of them
Right.
coming out of the water. They only have 4 dudes. But
Right.
it was really good. And I like the fact that also they didn't show a lot of gore. It, like just what John Carpenter did in Halloween. I thought that was really cool.
And
I
a
don't
lot of
wanna
it took
spoil-
place in the daytime too.
Yes,
That-
they rarely attacked at night. It was
Right,
always in the
'cause-
middle of the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a really good film. I watched it
Oh,
while I
I'm
was
glad.
brewing some loquat mead, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. Like I said,
Awesome.
just, I need more Peter Cushing. But
Wait
yes,
a minute, John. Do you know that Janelle is the brewmaster? She makes
I-
mead.
She does.
I make beer,
Mutant
mead, and
mead.
wine.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Started as a
That's-
COVID experiment because I was bored and turned into a full-blown addiction. And I think I have like another 15 gallons of various brews fermenting right now.
You see, that is one of the skills that is going to mean something when everything collapses.
I
And that's really going to mean something.
I actually also know how to make ethanol for
Oh,
fuel.
There you go. Jeez, you're all set. I know
Yep.
whose house I'm
He is
going to
all
come
set.
visit.
Well, I think
Wow.
if where I
That's
live,
great.
if everything collapses, I'm hopping in the car
Right.
and I'm taking my family to Arizona, and I'll take all my brewing gear with me.
Hey,
And I'm
you
going to
got-
stay with Kat and Ishi. We're
Yes,
going to invade their
please do.
house.
Well, I think Arizona's better geared to fare such a thing since everybody's a prepper here. So
Yeah.
anyway,
When COVID first started, I have a friend who has a friend who had enough money. She has a house away from her house, and in the house where she actually lives, she has a bag, a bug out bag all set, and it's like she's like, where it is, get there if anything happens. And this woman has money, okay, and she was a prepper. No one knew it. You understand what I'm saying? It's like she was all set, and she's never talked about it, and she was ready. And I'm like, see, that's how you do it. You don't let anyone know you've got a place.
Mm-hmm.
it's a
So-
shame your dad never finished his.
Oh,
Or did he?
They did. It's just yeah, but no, my dad finished his bug out cabin. Every floor of that house had at least one bug out bag that had
Mhm.
clothing, guns, and
Mhm.
credit cards in it, and
Wow.
cash.
Yeah. Anyway, but I'm glad you like Shockwaves. Next, you'll have to try Outpost.
Outpost. Okay. Oh, I'm mixing that up with Outland. I was thinking of the Sean
Ugh.
Connery. Do you know which movie I'm talking
Oh,
about for
yeah.
Outland?
Yes,
I
yes,
fucking love
The
that
unofficial
movie.
alien setting.
right. I
Yeah.
saw that in the theater the night it opened, and
I can't believe people hate that movie. I thought it. I think
Why?
it's
That's a
think
great
it's
film.
I
because
think
it's got a lot of buildup. I think.
Well, it's
that's
high
what
noon in space.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's why I hated it. It
Why?
was
That's why
like it
you
was just
hated it?
it just ported it over to a look. Harlan Ellison said it a lot better than I did, and he wrote a piece on it. And one of the funniest lines in it is he says, "I can't believe I've spent 5,000 words ripping this stupid piece of junk apart, and I could spend another 5,000." But like putting aside the scientific, I'll just give you one example that he
Oh,
wrote
look,
about.
if you're going to complain about the fact that his shotgun broke the glass dome,
No, I don't care about any of that. This is what I care about. Okay, he's got a bunch of miners who are being poisoned by the corporation, and he doesn't just walk into the bar and say, "Guns for everybody, let's go get them." Because I mean, instead they're like, "No, we're angry giant, but basically the roughest guys in the galaxy." And we're just gonna, well, I don't know what you can do about it. That's too bad. The motivations is just stupid. I liked how it looked, and Jerry Goldsmith wrote a kick-ass score. There's a chase scene in it that's like it's like something out of Stravinsky. But I don't know. It just didn't do anything for me.
I
you
I
know that
thought that it had a little bit of a lag in the middle, but I did actually
Mm,
like the fact that the corporation was feeding them the equivalent of souped up meth to keep them
right,
working, but it was
right,
driving them crazy. I actually liked that.
right. Well, it was somebody well, Ishi just said it, which is it's like it's in the same universe as Alien when you think about it. And I mean just the look of it is just
yeah.
Oh yeah,
so
it's called
close
cassette
to it.
futurism. That's that style.
Right. You
And
mean they can just load them more boxes as they need them and just, open and more beds and everything, just move it all around.
well, it's directed by the same guy who did 2010.
Yeah. Peter Hyams, who also was one of the very few directors in America. I think he slipped in when they were changing rules. He's one of the few directors in America who's actually the cinematographer on his movies. I can't honestly think of another one offhand.
Oh
You
yeah,
can't do you can't really do that according to because of the
No, because unions are,
right
bastards that
that
way.
yeah
because clearly unions have made the world better,
Yes.
Oh my god.
especially Hollywood.
just look at the world of Outland. The guy's head explodes. The guy gets in the elevator and goes down, and when they open the elevator inside is like completely red because his head
His head
popped when he was
explodes.
yeah.
Oh, I
Excuse me.
didn't know Jim Steranko did a comic version of Outland. Holy
Oh, that's
shit,
cool.
JC
It's
posted that.
beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it. Oh, I'm a big Steranko fan. So
I love Steranko too, and
oh,
I'm surprised more people don't know who he is. Like hardcore comic fans, I'm like, oh yeah, Jim Steranko's. When he was doing Agents of Shield, he really turned it into a
right.
James Bond-esque comic, and they're like, who?
Right. It's
Yeah.
like and
What?
like pop art. You can look at that stuff today and it's still wild.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
He's
thing
on
is,
he's on Twitter, right? He's like 80 years old. He still looks good. And it's like whenever I see him in pictures, they're like he's at a convention and the 20-year-old hotties are climbing all over him. He's one of these guys who just like loves life and he got in a little trouble about a year ago when he like let it slip that like we'll just say he doesn't like Biden and he does like Trump. And like that became they tried to make it into something and it was like just shut up, just be quiet. It's like we
I
don't really, I mean, even the people who don't like Trump will like just be quiet. It's Jim Steranko. He can do whatever the hell he wants. He's a living legend.
I remember when all that shit was going down before COVID and then Comicsgate was going nuts and
Hmm.
all of the major artists were like, oh, Trump is a Nazi and he's the new
Right.
Hitler. And,
Right.
if you're not with us, you're against us. And Jim Steranko is like, so anyway, I'm going to be at this convention.
Right.
Everybody's invited. I don't care which side you're on. Just come visit me. And he's always at
Yep.
SDCC. He just wasn't there last year because of, COVID. And that really bummed me out because every time I go to see him and try and get something autographed, I love that he does this, but it also makes it really hard to stay in line. He will talk to his
Right.
fans till they're tired of talking to him. And I've actually waited in line for an hour behind like 3 other people, and he's still been talking to the same guy. And I appreciate that he does that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the rest of us were like, oh, come on, man, we want to talk to you too. And I had to pee, so I bounced. And I really would like to get an autograph of his before, he leaves us, because I know a lot of. Oh,
Are you
go
on
ahead.
Twitter? Are you on Twitter?
No, Twitter causes me to be angry.
Oh, okay. Because he's the easiest person in the world to get in touch with, because I just mentioned him in a tweet and he like sent me a tweet thanking me for mentioning him, and I was like, dude, you have like you inspired my writing. Your art inspired my writing. And he was like, oh, that's great, it's all storytelling, and he's like, I'll be here, it's I'll be here this weekend, try to come and see, we'll talk. And it was like, okay, well, this is on a Friday. And he was going to be in LA on the weekend. It's like, well, I can't, but thank you. I mean, he's like, seriously, he's like ridiculously cool.
He
So
treats
try
all
to
his fans
talk to him.
good.
He does.
Does anyone see the comment?
No fucking way.
I know.
Well, okay. William Silva said Steranko is the godson of Walter Gibson, the main writer for The Shadow. Yeah, here's the thing. Steranko truly is the most interesting man in the world in comics, because there's that fact which I didn't know, but then there's the fact that he's at one time was a professional magician and
escape artist.
And it's because of that he is the inspiration for Mr. Miracle.
Get the fuck out.
Yes.
Yep. Wow.
Wow. Oh shit. That's so cool.
Wow,
that explains why he was so good at writing James Bond-esque stuff too, getting all out of, escaping from things. That's right. I love Jim Steranko, and I actually loved his sexy Polaris that he drew. A lot of people don't like her original outfit, or the one that came when during the it was the Phoenix Saga, not the Dark Phoenix Saga, when she got brainwashed by the Imperial Guard of the Shi'ar, and she had the purple outfit with the high collar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still have all those comics in a box somewhere. Remember the one? I think it was the issue right before the ending. When before Phoenix dies, when they bring the Shi'ar in, there's like 30 characters battling the X-Men. It's like a ridiculous number of characters, and he's watching it and it's like I didn't know this at the time because I've never followed DC Comics, but a lot of them were like knockoffs of the Legion of Superheroes, because he had to like come up with a whole bunch of side characters to just fight the X-Men for one issue. Oh
my gosh, I see it now. Oracle is the analog of Saturn Girl. Holy shit.
Just before I forget, you have Outpost up. The reason I even thought of that
is this a good film?
It's very good. I really liked it. Stay away from the sequels. Oh, good. Stay away from the sequels. Ray Stevenson is the star of it. He just died like a week ago.
I know, it bums me out because he was Titus Pullo in Rome.
Whoa, he died? What happened?
I think
it
was
living.
sudden. I think it was like my grandfather used to say, his heart stopped. That was what he said whenever somebody died, his heart stopped. I see. I don't really follow the Rome, and I didn't follow, but I guess he is in the Thor movies or something. And when I saw Outpost, I'm like, oh, this guy's good. He's going to be a big star. And I never seem to see him. And then when he died, I looked, I'm like, oh God, this guy's worked very steadily since then. I just haven't seen it. Where have I been? But-
Yeah, he was great.
He was the Punisher in the sequel, which I didn't see that one, but I heard it's way better than the one with Thomas Jane. But he was really good as Volstagg. I loved him in Thor. They put the fat suit him on everything, and he looked great. And he played him
was
very well.
great. He's one of those actors who can, he can be the fun, comedic, happy dude, and then 2 seconds later, he's fucking scary.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what he is in this. And in Outpost, he comes across as like you completely believe him as that character. Like there's no, smart ass comments that, he's like, this is what I need, this is what you have to do, we're gonna do it. I don't think he breaks a smile once in the whole movie. And he makes the movie work because he's so real in that part, and you believe this is a guy who would be hired to go find a Nazi machine that can bring people back from the dead. You think, yeah, this is the guy they'd hire. So see it.
All right. I guess oh, it's on Prime Video. Okay.
It's worth watching. It definitely is.
Okay.
Very much so.
Honestly, his role as Titus Pullo is the one that always sticks out the most to me because he plays what you think at first is the stereotypical Roman. He likes to party, he likes to fuck, he likes to kill. But as time goes on, and I can't remember the guy Kevin something, and he played his partner who was the very taciturn, very stern, serious guy. But as time goes on, Titus Pullo. What?
Lucius Farinas?
I thought it was oh, you're right, it was Lucius Farinas. Thank you. What's his name? Is it Kevin McNeil? He was in Train Spotting. He was Tommy in Train Spotting.
Yeah,
and I can't remember his name. It's Kevin something. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just like that both of them played well off each other, and I like how Titus went from being like, I can do whatever the fuck I want, no fucks given, to all of a sudden like, oh shit, I have a ton of responsibility. This is yeah.
See, it sounds like when you said Titus Pillow, I thought, was she describing my midsection?
No, Pullo.
Titus Pullo.
Oh, okay. I didn't see any of that, but I think Walter Hill had something to do with that. I think he was no. It was John Milius.
Yeah, John Milius produced it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I should see it.
No wonder that show was awesome.
My only problem with Rome is that second season is 2 seasons crammed into one. That they didn't have enough funds to do the third season.
They didn't get the third season they needed.
Yeah.
I don't understand because that show was highly watched.
Well,
it had some of the best actors from the UK in it.
I'll tell you exactly why. Because Hollywood has it out for John Milius.
Mm-hmm.
They will never forgive him for Red Dawn.
Oh God!
Oh yeah, so absolutely.
That is what killed his career, was Red Dawn.
That's a shame because you got to see Polly Walker stretch her villain chops so good. But you want to know something funny about her character in Sevilla? In history, Sevilla of the Addii was actually the real life villain, and Adia of the Junii was actually a very pious woman. But they switched it for the show.
Mm-hmm.
But that opening scene where she strips down naked in the very first episode, slits the throat of a bull and bathes in its blood. You're like, fuck, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fun for the whole family.
Wolf says sacrilege about the Punisher movie. The second
I've seen neither, so I cannot comment on.
I just know the ladies really like Thomas Jane.
It was okay. I'm not going to say it was great. I mean, I really think they had something when John Barenthal took over, but John Barenthal is really good at playing gruff, serious men.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little weird with Thomas Jane because I'd always seen him in rom-coms, so it didn't really hit for me. And it was kind of like John Travolta was doing like the best job in the movie along with Will Patton, who played John Travolta's right-hand man.
Cool.
But there was no balance. Does that make sense? Like you've got this gregarious villain that, John Travolta's really good at playing villains. And then you have Thomas Jane being Frank Castle. And it was like, there's no balance here. So, I mean, it's okay.
I remember when that came out, and it really did nothing. Like it didn't. It didn't even register, and I think at that point, that was a right around point really when Travolta's star started to shake his after his Pulp Fiction, resurgence.
Yeah. Well,
Did
didn't his
you?
son die soon after that movie was made? And that's when he kind of started disappearing.
Yeah, I'm not sure when, but yeah, the
You mean
son
when his
died.
son got bumped off?
Yeah, and then they bumped off his wife like 5 years later. And you notice that he's just now being let off the leash again to do commercials.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. How was he? Who
Oh,
bumped
it's
his
Scientology.
family off?
The
Scientology.
Scientologists.
Yeah.
Scientology.
Yeah.
It's not the Scientologists
That
basically
bunch.
own
Did
him.
you?
Yeah.
One of the other actors in Outpost is Michael Smiley. Do you know him?
No.
Mm-mm.
He is in Kill List. Have you guys seen Kill List?
No.
No.
See it. It's a I'll just give you the set. The setup is
2011?
that these two guys are hired to knock some people off. Okay. And then partway through, it does a huge turn and becomes something else. And I'm not going to tell you anything
Is this
about
like the perfect
the
host?
twist.
That guy looks like Joe Biden.
Yeah. Was this
Fuck.
the Joe Biden
It's Joe
story?
Biden.
It's-
Oh wait, no, it's the actor from The Walking Dead. He played Herschel.
Um,
Scott something. But yeah, he looks like Joe Biden there. That's
So
kind
that
of
two
scary.
guys who have to bump off somebody because the big guy did some dealings with China, and
yes, and his son.
So the Disney
Um,
story?
it's worth seeing, and it's funny that one of the reviews just popped up on the trailer, and the word
I
diabolical works really well
I know
to
who
describe
Michael
what happens.
Smiley is now. Sorry, I
Mhm.
know who he is now. I originally saw him on the show Spaced with Simon Pegg. He played his ecstasy-addled friend who was so addled by being on E all the time, he had a constant rave going in his head.
my God, that dude really does look like zombie Biden.
Yeah, he does.
Well,
Okay, we need
it's
to see
worth
this.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's definitely worth seeing because I want to hear what you think of it. That's what I really want to hear what people think of, because it's um it's so my favorite kind of movies are the ones that there's nothing else like it. That seriously, I think that's just my favorite type description of a movie is no one else like no other movie like this.
John, have you
that's like
seen
it.
The Perfect Host?
I have not. I don't think I've even heard of
That's
it.
another underrated film that just kind of came and went.
Yeah,
The Perfect Host.
The Perfect
And
Host.
what type of a
Well,
movie
part
is
of the
that?
problem is there's a ton of movies with that name.
Yeah. Is it this one? Yes, it's
Yeah.
this one.
I just saw an advertisement for that movie today. It's David
it's
Hyde
great.
Pierce, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he pretty much plays his character from Frasier,
Mhm.
except he's a psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So the character from Frasier. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, that's
Yeah.
nope. So I'm sorry. I just I'm trying to think of other movies that would fit into what I'm trying to describe. That like they start like one movie. By the way, that I think I mentioned it last time, but I want to repeat mention it because it needs to be underlined. It's mentioned in as being an influence on Kill List is Get Carter. Have you seen that? Have you seen Get Carter?
Isn't that the
1971. It
Stallone
was
film?
remade by Stallone.
Very, very
No,
long
that's
time
it's
ago.
Yeah.
it's a remake of the original Get Carter 1971. It's actually in a recent poll. It's the number one British crime movie of all time, as voted on by I think different British directors and writers. Michael Caine goes back to his small town because his brother has died, and Michael Caine works for the mob, so he goes back and then he finds out his brother was actually killed. So he starts to go around to his old haunts and say, like, now what happened? And he basically starts killing his way through all the people who had something to do with his brother's death. And it's very it's very it's very uncaring. It's a brutal movie. I mean, for 1971, terrific movie. Definitely see Get Carter.
It sounds like it's in the same vein as I know this is going to sound weird. Marathon Man. Anybody see Marathon Man?
Yeah,
Long
it's
ass time ago.
Yeah.
is it safe? It's yeah, it's I'm trying
I
to
mean, when Dustin Hoffman's character finally cracks, he starts killing his way through everybody to
Right.
find out why
But-
he's
but-
been attacked.
right, but I see that as more like most of Marathon Man is like twisting the screws until he bursts, and Get Carter is more like the steamroller just comes into this little town and he just starts crushing everybody from beginning to end. But it would make a good double feature. Whenever I think of whenever I think of the Marathon Man, though, I think of William Goldman, who wrote the book and the screenplay for the movie. And he never forgave John Schlesinger for how he directed the scene at the end when Dustin Hoffman and
Laurence Olivier
are facing off. And he says the way, and it makes sense if you watch the scene carefully, but like he basically he accidentally kills himself. Like he stumbles and stabs himself. So it's like, we've been told for 2 hours that Olivier is the most brilliant criminal mind in the world, and he basically slips and kills himself. It's just so wrong. And I completely get what he's talking about, but that was okay. Get Carter is fantastic. See it.
I just noticed that it has Britt Eklund in it, and I learned from the movie The Wicker Man that she has a fantastic ass and great pair of tits. She's also a cute Bond girl.
Yep. She
was in The Man with the Golden Gun.
She was fine, yeah. And she just plays a girl who, he wants to screw, so they screw. It's like she just has like no hang-ups. She's like, I'm all for that. And like I said, it has some really cold stuff in it. Which Michael Caine is, you see him in so many parts, and in this, and he was also in a movie years later with Bob Hoskins called Mona Lisa.
Mario Brothers?
It was called Mona Lisa, and Michael Caine is a mobster, and he's only in it for like 3 scenes, and he's like vile.
He just steals the scene.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bob Hoskins is very good in that one. But and it's about a guy who like shut up and didn't speak, so he went to jail. And he comes out and and Michael Caine's like, oh, I'm gonna there's Britt, and Michael Caine's gonna give him a job, because he shut up when he went into the big house, so to speak. That's that's a good one too.
All right, so we know you have strong opinions about the Alien series.
It's showing something else.
Is there any other film franchise or film where you've got very strong opinions?
Pick one. Star Wars. Star Wars, because Star Wars was the first movie that I saw as a kid that really got me into movies. I was the perfect age to see the original Star Wars. I was 13 when it came out. Sorry, 12. So yeah, but everybody talks about Star Wars series. I'm trying to think let me think about series for a minute.
All right, actually, I have a question for you.
Okay.
You read the lay bracket script for Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone keeps claiming it was rejected.
Well, no, it wasn't.
It's not true.
It wasn't rejected because it was based on what Lucas wanted. Excuse me. And excuse me. It was what he used. He was still I mean, let's put it this way. Her draft doesn't include Darth Vader being Luke's father. And there's no Cloud City. There's a battle station. Like basically another Death Star.
Well, didn't you say that a lot of the back and forth of her and Leia and Han Solo was in her script?
I mean, yes, I believe so because she was good at that type of character thing. Particularly if you look at things like, um, did you ever see The Long Goodbye, which with Elliot Gould was made in by Robert Altman,
Oh,
and
well,
and it up
we're speaking of films I have strong opinions about, but we'll keep talking about Star Wars.
okay, but let's put it this way: it was a draft, and if you know scripts, and this sounds like I'm being highfalutin, but it's just a fact. If you know how scripts evolve, it's a perfectly ordinary. There's no like radical alterations in terms of oh, he ignored it. No, he didn't ignore it. It's like it's basically the same movie. It just has to be adjusted, which is what happened.
Because yeah, I've noticed there a tendency to really downplay her contribution to that film.
Right.
When apparently I've talked to you and you said, no, definitely you can see it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like I've mentioned before, there's this fantastic book. I think it's the only Star Wars book I've ever bought since I was in high school. It's called The Secret History of Star Wars. And the title's a bit deceptive, but what it really should be called is The Scripts of Star Wars, because this guy had every draft of the first 6 Star Wars movies. And he just like breaks down what's in all of them. I mean, this is like, for somebody who's just like kind of interested, this must be numbing, but I loved it. The book's like 600 pages long, and he just like goes through every draft and makes references like, and this came up here, and this started here, and he doesn't put down the lay bracket draft either. He says, well, things changed, but he was still, this was at first draft. I mean, what was going to happen was then she would come in and they'd talk and go back and she'd do another draft. Unfortunately, she was in the final month of her life because of cancer. And she passed in the Empire script a month before she died.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I do know that when it came to the script for Empire Strikes Back, the one thing that wasn't ever in it because only George Lucas, Erwin Kershner, and Mark Hamill was the
Right.
Luke, I'm your father. That's why it was never in the script. Because David Prowse threw a huge fit over it.
Yeah, he didn't know.
Yeah, I think he said no. He said,
Obi-Wan killed your father.
Right, exactly. And it's like, so if you were anyone else but those 3, you'd say, well, that makes sense. Oh my God, he's torn up about that. But it's like,
Well,
no.
I'm going to go a step further. I know he was pissed. He said I would have acted it differently. I think, Dave, you got a bucket on your head. Nobody's going to notice.
Yeah.
You were picked for your height and your mass. Mm-hmm. You were not picked for your acting skills. Well, I remember Ethan Van Sciver said that guy was such an asshole. He called Christopher Reeve like a pussy after he was paralyzed and talked shit about him, even because he was a stunt double on the Superman movies. I believe it was Ethan that told that story. Maybe chat can back me up if they heard that story. But yeah, like David Prowse didn't have nice things to say about Christopher Reeve. And it was just like, really, dude, the guy's paralyzed now. Can you just shut the fuck up?
And I think around that time is when he was like banned from official Lucasfilm conventions and stuff. He was like,
he was a dick.
Yeah.
He was also a white supremacist, like a literal white supremacist.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, Trenton, hey, I love the movie Willow, and people can make fun of me for it. I don't care. I love the movie
I was going to bring that up because we're talking about lay bracket, and the fact that the fact that apparently her and Edmund Hamilton's work is like all over the first film, A New Hope.
Right.
That Lucas just completely borrowed heavily, and there's even rumors those two penned the first draft of that of A New Hope.
I wouldn't believe that, but
really?
Yeah, but the absolutely. I mean, you can go through. Well, Edmund Hamilton wrote he wrote a series called Captain Future, and you look at his stuff and you look at her stuff. Leigh Brackett wrote her most famous book is probably Sword of Rhiannon, and it's about a guy who's like basically John Carter, and she openly said this. This is in every edition. It's like, oh, I loved Edgar Rice Burroughs. Her sort of Rhiannon is like Edgar Rice Burroughs with better characterization. So I mean, Lucas, I mean, you know, that's the whole postmodern thing. It's like, oh, this is a tribute. It's like, I mean, that's what made the original Star Wars so good, is it really was a hodgepodge of like little bits from every genre, which is why it actually is like a one-time thing. What from Empire on, as it's made very explicit in that Secret History of Star Wars, you could, the average person who doesn't like science fiction could really enjoy Star Wars. Is like, oh, this is just a different movie. Empire is for science fiction fans. It's not the same as the original Star Wars. It starts taking itself more seriously, and that to me is what's wrong with the prequel trilogy. There's no Han Solo character, so there's no mockery of the thing that everyone else is being so serious about,
Well, I think
because
there's
Lucas is taking
also-
it seriously.
I think also there's too many scenes of people standing in corners and hallways, staring at each other, talking about things off screen.
That's exactly what John Milius, when was asked about this, he said the problem with the Phantom Menace is it's all a series of meetings, because that's all George does anymore.
Wait, John Milius was involved with the Phantom Menace?
No, he just commented.
He was just asked about it.
Wait, what? How did that movie turn out so shitty if he was involved?
He wasn't. That's why it turned out so shitty.
Yeah.
Oh, it would have been a great film if he had directed it.
Another comment he made about it, which I thought was right on, was he says George took all of the subtext and made it the text. For example, the virgin birth. It's like all that stuff is like, well, I mean, there's ways of making a quote virgin birth, but it's not really a virgin birth. You know what I mean? Like if you wanted to make an action movie today, you'd have a character who, if you wanted to make him like Jesus, you just say, well, no one knows who his mother was. He was like found on a doorstep or something. You know what I mean? It's like he's standing in that position. And Milius pointed out, no, he just says it's a virgin birth. It's like, okay, well, there's nothing for me to work with.
I gotta admit, that was a hard eye roll for me in the theater. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Anakin, who's Darth Vader, is supposed to be Jesus?
Yeah. Space Jesus, who turns into
Space Satan.
Space Satan.
So what I was going to bring up is that in doing research for Boobs of Steel, I found out, and I still got to email this to you, Janelle, the Black Amazon of Mars, they just openly said in making this film, large chunks of it were taken directly from brackets Black Amazon of Mars.
Mm-hmm.
And that Sorsha is essentially the Black Amazon of Mars.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've never read that one, so I wouldn't have made the connection. But
really, you've never read the Black Amazon of Mars?
No. See, to me, Willow is just like the Lord of the Rings light. I mean, there's so many little bits and pieces again that, and it's just got there's nothing under it at all.
The baby is the ring.
The entire back and forth between Sorsha and Val Kilmer here, Mad Mordican, was the Black Amazon and Eric John Stark.
Mm-hmm.
It's directly lifted.
Oh, I can see the Eric John Stark, right. Well,
and down to Sorsha's helmet.
Well, you know how General Kale is named after Pauline Kael? That's the villain,
No,
General
I didn't know
Kale. Oh, that was intended. That was named just like the two-headed dragon was called a Sispert after Siskel and Ebert.
Wow.
But Pauline Kael actually put her finger on something about this movie when she reviewed it, and she said, she said Kael was like, she in parentheses she wrote like a tribute to moi, like she was acting like she was, she was flattered, but she said the Lucas has just gotten a divorce, and the climax is that all the women have all the power, and they're just beating the crap out of each other, and it's like. I can see it. It's like, the women have all the power. And it's like, yeah, I can see what you're getting at there. Because I remember being in the movie theater and like, the princess comes out and she's this old lady, and it's like you could feel the theater like, oh, we thought we were gonna get some hottie. Oh well. And then the climax is the two of them beating each other up.
Well, I don't know. Jean Marsh was a looker when she was young.
When she was young. Did you ever see her in that Twilight Zone episode?
Yes, I've also seen her in Doctor Who.
Oh, I'm not a Doctor Who person, so I didn't even know she was in Doctor Who.
Oh,
But-
yeah, she was in a William Hartnell era of Doctor Who, and then she was great as Princess Mombi.
Oh, absolutely. The
She
Return to
scared
Oz
the
is great.
shit out of me as a kid.
Oh God,
I forgot she was Princess Mombi.
Mm-hmm.
and she made it, and of course, she made her big, hit with Upstairs, Downstairs, which I think she co-created it too. She didn't just act in it; she also was one of the creators of it. I think.
Was she
have you-
really?
Yeah, I think so. I don't quote me on that, but I'll look it up and see. But I think I'm the oldest person here, and it's like that damn show. I was a kid when it came out. It was everywhere. Like all the adults were talking about that show, and it's like, of course, kids my age are like, I don't give a damn. Why do I care about this? But it was huge, and it was a series for what it was basically a mini series. And so like for months, it was like, oh, what's it gonna be? What's gonna happen this week? So yeah, that was a big hit.
I vaguely remember every fucking telethon on PBS. And upstairs, downstairs. This is another reason you want to donate to.
Well, that and Are You Being Served? It was
Oh,
both of
my
those
God.
They would flip flop through.
Jesus.
And the one show I wanted them to rerun, they never did, which was Monty Python, which they stopped running after a certain while. And the other one was Faulty Towers, which I thought was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Which I thought was hilarious. But oh yeah, no, Jean Marsh was in her days, yeah. But the climax of this, oh God.
All right. JC wants to know what I think of Long Goodbye.
There's
Long
a
Goodbye is my
goodbye.
favorite Philip Marlowe story. I think it's the best thing
Mhm.
that Chandler ever wrote.
Really?
And it's one hell of a great story.
Mhm.
And that
Well, you
setting.
did your own tribute to it.
Yes, I did. Book 2 of Case File Arkham is a merging of Long Goodbye and Thing on the Doorstep by Lovecraft.
Mhm.
I
Literally.
did not know that.
And to take Marlowe and putting Marlowe in the 40s works.
Mhm.
Marlowe is actually in the 30s, but that's fine, 20s and 30s.
Mhm.
But putting him in the 40s worked. It's not that much different. Putting Marlowe in the 1960s with hippies fucking sucked. Worse was Elliot Gould was the worst fucking Marlowe ever. No, he wasn't a tough guy. He wasn't the knight in tarnished armor.
Mhm.
He wasn't the solid stalwart who walked through all the chaos. He was a mumbling drunk. Fuck this.
I respectfully disagree. And I will just say this. The ending, as you know, is not the same as it was in the book. And Leigh
I
Brackett
didn't get to the end.
Leigh Brackett intentionally came up with that ending to show he wasn't a pushover. He just like let himself be passive and get pushed along because he didn't know what was going on. And eventually he figured it out and found out what was really going on. And then he plugs his best friend because he could have handled himself differently, but he was in he knew nothing that was going on. I'm not saying I completely agree with all that. I'm just saying that was the logic, and I understand the logic. I think it's a great movie, and the photography is amazing. And John Williams' score is hilarious because it's one song, and like you walk into the supermarket, it's playing on the Muzak. He goes into a club and is playing on the piano. It's like a joke about those. That's the thing. It's almost like a parody.
And it's my favorite Marlowe story. I didn't want a goddamn parody. I didn't want a quirky detective. I wanted the tough guy that punches people and
but
gets
see,
the shit done.
I didn't want a movie made of that, of the original book. The original book is so dense. The whole thing with how, at the beginning, and his friend's wife and all that stuff, and seeing, the details of, like, for example, like the restaurant early on, is the whole thing with that restaurant, and it's so dense. I don't think you could make a 2-hour movie of that.
Oh no, you couldn't. You would have to chop. Well, there would be big chunks you could chop out of it. That
I
wouldn't
thought
be a
Sterling
problem.
Hayden was good. I thought he was really good in that. He was like Ernest Hemingway as a drunk. It's and I thought that was great. I thought he was fantastic in that.
I don't know. If it had been made in the 40s, maybe it would have been different.
No, I agree. I see what you're saying, and to me, it's just, if it was, I think that was the only reason it got made was because of the success of Chinatown, and I think another director could have argued, well, why don't we keep it in the period? Because that was closer. Chinatown was in the 30s. It's like, why don't we keep it in the 40s? And I just think, the way Hollywood was at the time, and the way Robert Altman was. Well, Robert Altman reportedly was quite a shitty person, but
Really?
yeah, but he was not.
What we got is a quirky Altman film.
He got paid for all the time, and he posed as this, independent, and he screwed basically everyone he ever worked with over money. Yeah.
If I can just say that that's the first time I've seen a trailer for The Long Goodbye. I've never seen that movie, and I'll tell you right now, I'm not sold. Elliot Gould just doesn't do it for me. I always remember Elliot Gould from MASH.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't hit for me, and he's running down the street with cigarette hanging out of his mouth, looking like a total tool. I'm just like, I don't see it.
Well, and he mumbled. He mumbled through the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, I think the setting, it could still work. It is Elliot Gould, because you need to have somebody playing Marlowe who you could buy being able to take a punch, and Elliot Gould does not look like that. I mean, you brought up John Chinatown. Jack Nicholson, when he was younger, he had that look. You know, he had that presence. He had, he had that screen appeal. He looked like he could take a punch if he needed to, and that's really what you need.
I think you're right, but at the same time, I'm not saying that this is how I would have done it, but his approach was, this is the tarnished angel being put in modern LA. It was shot by Vilma Zsigmond, who won the Oscar for Close Encounters, and he also shot The Deer Hunter. He was amazing, fantastic photographer, and the whole movie has this like washed out LA. It's almost golden, but it's not quite golden. It's like a harsh afternoon light. It's let's put this is all I'm saying about it. I'm not denying any of the things that Ishii is saying. I'm just saying I accept it for what it is, not for what I would have done with it.
I wanted a film that flowed and looked like this.
Double Indemnity.
Well, I did you ever see the other Billy Wilder film, The Lost Weekend?
Yes.
That to me is a really good model for a movie that's about one person going down the drain. And I think it has a style which to me would be, I mean, Billy Wilder and Raymond Chandler, as you know, did Double Indemnity. They wrote that script. Have you heard about their ordeals with each other?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you really?
I've heard the ordeals between Chandler and James M. Cain. Those were kind of entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, because he totally didn't care for James M. Cain's writing at all.
And James M. Cain thought hated him.
And having read both of those gentlemen's work, I can totally see why they hated each other.
Oh yeah, but like Chandler went. In the first place, he said he'll write the script in 10 days, and he wants $750 for it. And and it was like people had to like pull him aside and say, that's not how it works. And he went to work with Billy Wilder, and he was irritated. He was irritated by Wilder, and he would like write letters to the bosses saying, Mr. Wilder comes into the room and he doesn't take his hat off. And he just walks back and forth. And Wilder was like always, saying every swear, and smoking like a chimney, and walking around saying, and then this happens and this happens, blah, 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 blah. And it actually, Chandler had been dry at that point, and he started drinking again during.
From what I understand, he wrote the entire thing drunk and was not sober through the whole process.
Yeah,
Wow.
that sounds about right. I can't reference it right now, but that sounds about right. But but look at what they made. I mean, I think they improved the book. To be honest with you,
You read it, Kat. What would you say?
Which book?
Double Indemnity.
Oh,
Double Indemnity.
God.
I did like the book.
I
But
mean,
I'm
the
just
book.
saying.
What they did was they took the book and had essentially Chandler rewrite all the dialogue,
Mhm.
which I thought was great. Worked.
Yeah, it worked very well.
On the other hand, I thought that the book of Postman Always Rings Twice was much better than either version of the movie.
I'd agree. Actually, I was definitely more engaged with the book than I was with the movie.
Neither version of the movie really touched on what to me was the thing that really brought the book up a level, which was you found out that the lawyers, it was basically a game. They had bets on if they could get him off or not, and it was kind of like he was like, I'm having this moral, issue here, and you guys don't even give a shit who really did it. And then the ending, of course, which is they they get it in different ways. The ending of Double Indemnity was terrible in the book. I thought it was ridiculous.
I legitimately don't remember
They
the
both
end part.
they go the two of them have a suicide pact.
Oh,
Yeah, her going to the chair
Yeah.
was better.
yeah. I
Yeah.
like that a lot better.
Well, he went to the chair. She was dead by that point in the film, in the scene they shot and then cut out. I'm glad they cut it out, by the way. I like how it ends. I like how it ends now. He lights when Edward G. Robinson lights the cigar for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good flick. That's a damn good flick. And Barbara Stanwyck was great. And one thing I want to say is, people say, yeah, but her hair and all this stuff. And Wilder,
That was the point.
after right, but after a week, Wilder almost wanted to go back and film it, but then it was prevailed on him by I'm not sure who, but maybe it was Stanwyck. But it's like, no, that's the whole thing. Is she's cheap, and he still really wants her because she's got that thing. And like, I think one of the best moments in film noir is the camera just sitting there watching her while you hear the husband get killed, and she's just she doesn't like smile. It's like she's just sitting there, and you hear, and it's like she is cold. Robert Mitchum was definitely better than Elliot Gould. Dark Stranger, you are correct. That was I almost took that down tonight because I always mentioned it. That was made around the same time, and it was in Farewell, My Lovely. Farewell, My Lovely. And that was good. That was a good flick. And Stallone was in that. Stallone was the guy who ends up killing the madam at the whorehouse.
And Farewell, My Lovely.
Yeah, the Mitchum one, yeah. Because Farewell, My Lovely, by the way, I'm not sure if you ever hear of Murder My Sweet?
Yeah, I know. I've read it.
Yeah, that's
I know.
right.
It was Murder My Sweet, and
they just changed the name.
Title.
And it was also a not the Saint. It was the Falcon, the George Sanders series of movies, crime movies. They had the rights to Farewell, My Lovely, and they adapted it for one of those. So that was the first version, actually, of Farewell, My Lovely before Murder My Sweet.
That's the Dick.
The Mike Hammer series is very good with Stacy Keach. I liked him. I think it kind of lost a little energy towards the end. And the other one is the what's Powers Booth
Yeah,
in the
as Marlowe. He was great.
yes,
Yeah, he
yes. I've got those. That's a terrific. It was made. A lot of it was filmed in England. The exteriors. There were a couple of exteriors in L.A., but most of it was filmed in England.
Yeah, that is the one problem with that series, and I think maybe if they'd
Yeah,
made
I
it
know what you
black and
mean.
white, it might have fixed it. But the problem is the ambient light of Britain
Mm,
is
that's what I've been
green,
told. Yeah.
green, and the ambient light of Southern California is burnt orange.
Yeah.
By the way,
Can
Murder My
can
Sweet was
confirm
directed by
England
Edward.
is green. And I went to England for my honeymoon. Yes, it was weird at night. Everything was like green or bluish.
Is
Right.
England really that rainy?
Yeah.
Yes.
It
When we
is.
went in the
Okay.
summertime, so it was just humid.
Right.
But
But
California, I mean, at night the sky looks like rust,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Does
not the
it
crap in
really?
the air. It's just
It.
it's the ambient light bouncing off the ground, which is
Yeah.
Well, it's a desert.
yeah.
See, that's why I thought that I really liked back to A Long Goodbye. I really thought the photography was great. By the way, Ishi, Murder My Sweet was directed by Edward Dmytryk.
Yeah.
You weren't. I thought you mentioned Edward Dmytryk to me a few days ago. He was one of the ones who he was a commie, but
Yeah, I
he
believe he was one of the ones that flat out said
he right. He flat out said, "Look, this is all it's all true because and
it's all
it's
true and
funny,
it was bad.
yeah, and that's of
What he
course
said.
why they hated him." But that's a whole other story. You should get into that. Did you get those links that I sent you?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
Yes, I
so
did.
not sure if you found anything interesting there, but Kiss Me Deadly is the only good Mike Hammer movie because they completely ignored the book. They just took the title. That's a great movie. Kiss Me Deadly is a
That is how
fantastic
you do a
movie.
torture scene in a film.
Oh my god. Yes, poor Cloris Leachman. Oh my god.
Explain to the audience for those who haven't seen it.
Well,
She-
they slap her down on. Okay, let me. And Raltz is a big Mike Hammer fan. I'm sure he'd have his things to say. Come on.
I've got Eye of the Jury, the 50s one, and I haven't watched it yet. I just had to watch the beginning of it, and I'm like, the beginning of it's not bad.
Oh, no. Spillane's a great writer. But Mike Hammer, the first 6 books are essentially Death Wish.
There it is, the legs. The legs is the torture scene, and her screaming just does it. It's like, oh my god.
It starts with the feet running down the street, and it keeps coming back to the feet.
And then
it ends with her hanging.
And the credits roll up backwards. The credits are backwards in the opening. They do a crawl, just kind of like Star Wars, but it's as if they reversed it. You have to see it. You'll understand. You can see it on YouTube, I think. Yeah, Robert Aldrich, who did Kiss Me Deadly, he and AJ Bezarides, who did some other film noir scripts, they hated all of the anti-communist stuff in the book. So they intentionally flipped it around. Albert Decker, who plays the bad guy, was another red, so to speak.
Jeez.
Yeah. but they intentionally went. I mean, all of the stuff of that Spillane's books are about, the movie like throws away intentionally. That was done very intentionally. And that movie also has, I think, one of the first phone answering machines I've ever seen in a movie.
Really?
Yeah, it's on the wall.
Well, Spillane made no bones about hating communists and being a Christian.
Right. He calmed down later. He became a Buddhist.
Really? Didn't know that.
He said he was sorry about all that stuff. But, what can you do? But AJ Bezarides, you should check him out. He's done a few good movie scripts, and there's a documentary on him. He was again, he was more progressive, but he wasn't like, he didn't make and the director Robert Aldrich went on to do Whatever Happened to Baby Jane and The Dirty Dozen.
Great film, great book. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, and of course Dirty Dozen.
Yeah, and he also did he also did oh shoot, what was it?
Dude, JC, Mike Hammer slapping the shit out of the clerk was a great scene.
Oh, absolutely. And let's see what else. Yeah, I can't remember. I'm sorry, I can't remember. Oh, Hustle. It was Burt Reynolds and Catherine Deneuve in the 70s. And it was like Catherine Deneuve is just stunning throughout the movie, and it's very definitely a 70s crime movie. Everybody's bad. Everybody's being blackmailed. everybody's terrible.
Well,
Have you two seen anything? Have you two seen anything lately?
I just made some purchases that we haven't watched yet.
Kat's been watching Dark Shadows.
Actually, no, I
Oh,
haven't.
no?
No, I haven't watched Dark Shadows in over a week.
I had a couple of movies that I wanted to discuss tonight, but I didn't know if we had time because, like, I watched Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires for the first time.
Yeah.
That's a terrific flick. Got another Peter Cushing.
Yeah, another Peter Cushing film. It's vampires with kung fu. It was fucking amazing.
Ahead of its time.
And I recognize some of the weaponry because I've seen it at my school.
Have any of you guys seen The Terror, the TV series?
I read the book. I have not seen the show.
The show is fantastic. Check it out. The first season of the complete story, and then they continued using the title The Terror and turned it into like like American Horror Story. Like each season is a whole new thing. But the Terror is about part of it is based on fact, which is that these two British ships were trying to find a way the Northwest Passage.
Yeah, it was the HMS Terror, and I can't remember the name of the other ship.
I want to say it's got an E and an R and a B in it, so I can't remember. But
I can never remember what the other ship is called.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've seen like several different documentaries on them.
And they basically, Dan Simmons, who's just a brilliant writer, just jumped off with what he thought might have happened to them.
Oh, that twist at the end. What you think what happened to them, and you're just like, oh fuck, I was not expecting that. Yeah.
And how he ends up by him,
Yeah.
But
I don't want to spoil it because the twist at the end is so wild. It was nothing like I was expecting, and I've read a lot of Dan Simmons stuff. Like the Hyperion series and Use of Fire, the Ilium and Olympus books.
Those two I haven't
HMS Erebus.
yet. Thank you. Hey, there was an E and an R in there. I got 2 out of 3.
You got your B and your P mixed up though, Kat. Just flip that P to a B.
I did. I said Erebus.
Oh, I thought you said you remembered there was an E and an R and a P.
No, that was me.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I'm sorry.
If you like Dan Simmons, by the way, read The Song of Kali, which is
I read The Song of Kali. Holy
his
shit.
first book. And
that book. Oh, just real quick. That book
go ahead.
Was so intense. I ended up calling out sick to work that day, so I finished that book in 24 hours.
I did the same thing. I didn't have to call out of work. I finished. Seriously, I read the beginning to end.
So I couldn't put it down. I was like, if I get fired, I get fired. Oh well.
And he has gotten so many letters and at conventions, people coming up to him asking him about all the time he spent in India. He spent 3 days in India total. He's been in India for 3 days. That's it.
Jesus, he must have gone to the worst parts of India to be able to write that book.
I've never read a book where while reading it, I felt humid. I felt like, and the alleys with the rich people that basically was a caste thing. They just throw the trash out of their houses and it like fills the alleys and such. And it's a horror story in a sense that it's like you're held in suspense, and the ending is just so horrifying. It's like a punch in the gut.
That's one of the worst endings I've ever read. Not worst like it sucked, but like I was disturbed for days after I finished reading that book. It upset me.
I can still see it at just sitting here talking and see in the airport. You know what happens. What they find. I can see it in my head. And it's like, I think he's just a great writer. Did you ever read Drood?
No.
which is it's a huge historical story about it, and again, kind of like the Terror in the sense that he takes something that really happened and then jumps off from it, which was Charles Dickens was in a train accident, and people were killed. He was okay, but other people were killed, and he saw. It'll take too long to explain. He sees someone, and then so Dan Simmons jumps off from that. Like, who did he see? And he makes it like Charles Dickens left the unfinished Mystery of Edwin Drood. It was the book he was working on when he died, and Simmons says, "I bet he was like working towards talking about this character that he saw." He kind of connected these two things that are not connected. It's another one of those books. I just read it like very like 2 days. It's a huge book. It's the size of freaking Yellow Pages.
Oh shit.
All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour. Do you think we can all watch Hobo with a Shotgun by next Wednesday?
Steve and I
Yes.
are going to finish it tomorrow, so
I will start it between now and Wednesday.
And Trenton wants to know what the book you were talking about was again.
Song of Kali.
Okay.
Song of Kali by Dan Simmons. Read it. I demand you read it.
Oh, also, Trenton said they just found the HMS Erebus.
Yeah, they
yeah.
found it a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
and that was,
after the book came out.
yeah,
That's
after the book
crazy.
came out.
After
Actually,
it's
it was
been
weird. The
missing
book
for
came
over
out,
100
like,
years.
2 months later, they found the Erebus.
And it was
But-
like, after over 100 years of being lost, they find it within a couple of years of him putting out a book about it.
Well, it's amazing too because it's in Arctic waters. Both ships are very well preserved,
Really?
and then because ships captains were really good at keeping records, they know where a lot of the crew from both ships has been buried. And
Oh, wow.
again, because it's Arctic conditions, they're corpuscles, so they also are very well preserved.
Wow.
And it's very fascinating to see almost a peek into time with both of these ships.
One book that Dan Simmons wrote that Ishi might like is called Flashback. The reason I thought of you, Ishi, is because Dan Simmons got a whole lot of shit for writing it, because it's basically it's a future America, and it involves a drug. And in this America, Muslims have kind of come to power, and he got a whole ton of shit for it. And he was basically saying, look, I wrote what came to me, and this is, what I think. If militant Islam did this, that, and the other thing, then this would happen. Doesn't mean
It was basically him giving his opinion on militant Islam, and all the lefties saying, "Oh, how dare you? They're brown."
Right. And I mean, I read one commentator saying, I've had all of his books and I'm throwing them all out. And I was like, I'm done reading about any opinions on this book, because I just can't deal with that type of thing. It's just, I was telling you what a day I've had. And one of the things I did was I watched a lot of YouTube today, a lot of commentators, because I was
What happened? Did you did your soul get sucked through your ears after the pain?
It made me decide to put off doing mine, because it would take me a long time to explain it, but I'm like, I can't, I'm not getting into this. I think I could talk about an hour of it, but maybe I'll call you during the week.
Was Flashback written before or after the Ilium series?
After
in 2011.
That was after, I think, right?
Okay, yeah, because I'm just thinking of the terrorist Muslim AI robots and the preserved Jews, and that book series.
I have not read Ilium because it intimidates me, because I have absolutely zero education beyond high school, and I look at the subject. I was like, this is going to be too heavy for me, and I won't finish it. So I have to build up to it.
After we're done with the show, I'll tell you about it, and it's not that daunting. You don't have to worry about that, for real.
Oh, good. Well, that's good to know, because he's a terrific writer. I mean, he's one of the few writers who can really. He has books in so many genres. Science fiction, horror, mystery. He wrote a book about a fictional version of Hemingway during World War II, fighting the Nazis. He's just, I think he's just a great, and his short stories are great too. He's a terrific writer.
I think the Hyperion series is one of the best science fiction series I've ever read, behind
Mhm.
Dune. That's how
Mm.
good it is.
I have all the books in both of those series in my house, and I have not read either of them, but I have them. So that's something. I'm getting there.
Oh, you need to get there because we need to have a conversation about that. That means you, Cat and Ishi, you need to read the Hyperion series. It's fucking brilliant.
Well, that's another one. I opened the book to read one page, and I read like 30 pages, and I'm like, all right, I don't have the time to read, because I will read the 4 books. You know what I mean? Like I won't be able to stop. So, but yeah, he's terrific. I think he's great.
All right. So shall we meet again next week?
Sounds
Sure,
good.
because I still want to talk about Dead End Drive-In, as well as Hobo with the Shotgun and Galaxy of Terror, because I saw those all for
Oh.
the first time.
Oh wow, Galaxy of Terror. That's a good one. There's one that you might like. I'll just throw in quickly. Have you ever seen Six String Samurai?
Yes. Oh, it's
Good
such a good
nerd.
movie.
That's the best movie. It has no budget, and it's awesome. I love how some of the monsters are obviously people wearing torn up garbage bags, and it's like, oh, I love this movie. It's a great
But
movie.
saw
The
it
kid
twice
is
in the
great,
theater.
and the kid is great in it.
Yeah.
And I hate kids in movies, but he's terrific in it. See that Six String Samurai. Everybody who's listening, see that by next week. We'll talk.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for listening.